Hi, this is Lorraine again, and I'm doing another video. If you will give me just a second to clear center and balance my energy, and we can get started. Okay, so I'm not really sure. I have some stuff written down from this week, but so much information came in, and the shifting energy just started really pointing me in a lot of different directions. I thought, I'm just going to read what I have written down, and then I'm just going to sit with the information and let it just flow. It was just too much. It was a really frustrating week because of all the information coming in. Not because the information was coming in, but what information was coming in. And also, I had eye surgery a couple weeks ago, and when I was watching the video, it was kind of funny because I had messages come in the day of the surgery, so I waited a little bit to write it down. So I wrote it all down. My vision was blurry, my handwriting was horrible, and then when I was trying to read it during making of the video, it was almost comical. I was laughing because I couldn't read my own writing, and my vision hadn't cleared enough yet to really be able to see all that well. But I did get the messages out, so it was funny. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with what I've had written this week, and then I'm going to build on that. And so and then it all builds on each other. All the information from what I wrote in my journal and all the messages that came this week all build on each other, but it just can be very frustrating. So April 23rd, I noticed this past week I have been referring to the Native American elder as Father. So every time I close my eyes and I see him to my left, instead of like just kind of engaging him, I would refer to him as Father, which I thought was interesting. And that was just something that I felt, so I did it. Then yesterday I realized he is my father from this lifetime. So I had this epiphany and this understanding of this Native American as not just a Native American, but also the vibration that he resonates at was the same as my father. And so I would associate with him as being someone profound and meaningful in my past lifetimes, as well as in my present lifetime, because in this lifetime he is my father. I'm being asked to release the paradigms from this world. And what that means is, so when I first moved to Seattle, I moved into a house and there was a man whose name was John who lived there. He is an energy, and he used to come in all the time, and I actually asked the property manager if they'd had experiences like in the house, and they said they had people who lived there before who had said that they had some things happen during Thanksgiving, spiritual, like kind of like comical, like being messed with. And so I said, because John is very Joe is, he's funny, and he's always like cracking jokes and being silly, and silly like physical comedy, like Lucille Ball or Mr. Bean. He was always very animated in his movements. And after I lived there for about 6 or 8 months, I said to him, "Are you my grandma?" Because I was like, there's something about this energy that's very familiar. But he was presenting himself as a male and very comical and not like my grandmother at all. My grandmother was very prayerful, and loving, kind, compassionate person, but I wouldn't call her a comedian. And so he was walking metaphorically behind the veil, and he pokes his head back out from behind the veil, and he kind of says to me, like, he gives me this look like, yeah, pretty much, right? So I thought that was funny. So what I got from that was that my grandmother was still there to support me, but they wanted to release this idea of who my grandmother was to me in this life, so that this energy could guide me in a different way. Because if I saw him as my grandmother, then I would be looking for a different kind of support. And what this energy was doing was keeping this house clear and keeping it protected from negative energy or attachments. And then helping me through, like, that I just separated from my husband, and just helping me through that emotional time. So now I have the Native American coming in, supporting me through these lessons of walking into the circle of creation, and now revealing himself as the energy in my life that I know as my father. And so if he presented himself as my father as I walked into the circle of creation, instead of this idea, this energy of this Native American elder who I associate with being a product of Mother Earth, a caretaker of Mother Earth, steward of Mother Earth, a teacher of humanity and all energies on this world. If I saw him as my father, I would have a different perception of him, as opposed to the Native American elder and what he was here to teach me about creation on this world, right? So what happened as he reveals himself as also my father, I'm being asked to release the paradigms of this perception of this energy of my father and this Native American elder. So this energy is not just these two things. Just like me, this energy is everything, everywhere, and nowhere. It permeates all things, unified always, never apart. It's part of me, and I'm part of it. And at its source, at its whole, it is one thing. We are all one thing. And so I'm going to continue reading. I'm being asked to release the paradigms from this world. I am resistant because as I release the paradigms of this world, I feel I move further away from it. But in reality, we are all being asked to release the paradigms of this world, the archetypes, the precedent that has been set forth. Are you ready to release these ideals? We are all being asked to release the paradigms from this world, whether it's religious dogma, whether it's ideas of what it means to be a father, son, daughter, what it means to be black, white, Asian, Native American, Pacific Islander, whether it is what it means to be a U.S. citizen, Israeli citizen, a citizen of Scotland, England, Ireland, Australia, China. We're being asked to release these paradigms, this ideology that defines us and categorizes us, and in the end separates us and makes us feel like we're different, or defines us as different, when in actuality we're all one. We're all unified. As I released the paradigms I was raised within and refused to buy into or accept the ideologies being presented, I am continually attacked with hateful words, insulted, belittled, and marginalized. This is often the path of the trailblazer, those looking for a different way to perceive and live in the world in which they reside. Nevertheless, I have faith in the divine guidance being presented to me, and will continue to follow it wherever it takes me. So I'm not buying into any of this stuff that's being presented, whether it be COVID, whether it be white privilege, whether it be Black Lives Matter, whether it be the demonization, the vilification of law enforcement, these false flag events. I was watching Cosmic Disclosure. I'm not even going to start with that yet. But this fear mongering, I'm not buying into it. All my faith is in God, and I connect and I listen to divine guidance. Divinity, the source of all creation, however you want to define that energy, that is what I trust in. And I use verbiage like God, and I talk about Christianity and revelation. That's how I was raised, because there are people at different levels of understanding, of different levels of spiritual awakening. And if I talk too much from this esoteric perspective, I lose some people. If I talk too much from the dogma of religion, I lose people. I was raised as a Catholic, deeply steeped in the dogma of religion, but it is the foundation of my spirituality, and it taught me, gave me a platform to move from. And so as I evolve and change and grow and learn and seek information and listen and connect and receive divine guidance and accept that divine guidance and allow it to teach me and help me grow and evolve, my perception of the world around me changes. The paradigms, I release the paradigms and I move forward. And I'm in this place, that's what my job is. I'm here to help people release the paradigms. And I have to relate to people as much as possible from all levels of spiritual awakening. And so I know sometimes speaking of God and the Bible can be off-putting for some people who consider themselves spiritually awoken. And speaking about the secret space program and stuff off Earth can be very off-putting to people who are still steeped more closely in traditional religion, faith, and dogma. But in the end, what we all have to reconcile is there is no difference between science and spirituality. There's no difference. It all stems from the same place, the divine. It's a product of the divine. And then I can even take it a step further than that. The divine creates the science that is part of this world. The divine creates the foundation of religion or spirituality that is the foundation of this world. So it's all from the same source, just like we are all from the same source. So to separate it, spirituality from science is like separating me from you or me from God. We're all part of God, okay? So let's see. 4/24, April 24th. You are manifesting your reality right now. The spiritual laws work together. No one law stands alone. The differences between the law of karma and the law of manifestation are similar, but not the same. Also, the law of attraction. Karma, manifesting, and the law of attraction, the law of flow, they all work together. The karma, manifesting, and attraction are very similar, and you can't manifest without flow. You can't attract energy to you without the flow of energy. So they all work together. And I was watching the video last week that I made, and I started to see how somebody could become confused with karma and the law of attraction the same way someone might be confused with clairsentience and empathy. So clairsentience being a knowing that comes as a feeling. So empathy is feeling someone's direct emotions. I can feel your joy, I can feel your sadness, I can feel your anxiety. Clairsentience is a feeling that is a knowing. So I feel like you need to go on vacation. I feel like, you're struggling in your marriage and maybe it might be a good idea to see a marital counselor. I feel like you're doing really well in your job and that you may have a promotion coming, or kudos, congratulations coming. That's a feeling that comes in the form of a knowing. The law of attraction, karma, is that what you put out is what you receive. So if you put out negative energy, you're going to receive negative energy. But the law of attraction says the same thing as you manifest your reality. So right now, so karma can come from past lives. It can come from instantly from something that has happened just in a few moments, or it can come back to you from past lives. Whereas manifesting is happening in this moment, or not necessarily in this moment, but you put out certain energy to manifest desirable outcomes. But you can also put out negative energy and manifest negative outcomes, okay? So I just wanted to kind of touch on that, to try to help anybody who might have been confused understand that. All the spiritual laws exist in every religious text. They use different vocabulary. They use different words to define the same thing or express the same idea or ideology. All religious texts, not just Christian. Okay, so here we go. I was watching, this is still from April 24th. I was watching Cosmic Disclosure, and that's on Gaia. And what I see is the negative polarity using truth, disinformation, and misinformation to instill fear in those who do not live within the traditional paradigms. So I'm not saying that people on the shows are intentionally misguiding or disinforming. But what is so clear to me is that how this negative polarity, this negative energy, and the people who are committed to that have spent decades feeding misinformation and disinformation into people who are out trying to do good. And so some of these people who are working within the government in these programs who go do research or who are engaging these I call them beings of love and light, energies from different worlds, these people who are trying to help protect us and also get informed, become informed, or help the United States government or other governments become informed. Although their intentions are good, the compartmentalization of these organizations allows for mis and disinformation to be transferred, and they don't even know it, okay? That is how compartmentalization is very effective, or can be very effective in disinformation and misinformation. Because if everybody's talking all the time, communication is the best way to get information, especially if you're getting it firsthand. But if they can only tell you half the truth, or part of the truth, or if they can't tell you any of the truth and they just kind of insinuate, then we tend to fill in the gaps, and that allows for misinformation and disinformation. And so this has been going on for decades, before I was even born. And so I'm watching these shows, and I'm watching these men who have worked in this area, and they're coming on to try to inform people and help people become aware. And they are providing mis and disinformation, and they are instilling fear in people. But that, even though that's not their intention, and that upsets me, because I know that that negative polarity is using them as a tool to instill fear in people, and then also promote their agenda of misinformation and disinformation. Because there, even though there is some truth in the information that's being given, the mis and disinformation cuts into the truth, and it makes it questionable, and then people have to discern what's truth, what's misinformation, what's disinformation. And most people are not able to connect and ask for guidance and discern between the truth and the lies. And again, I'm not saying that these people who are talking on these shows are lying. I'm just saying that this negative polarity has come in and given them the information so that they lie for them. They lie for this negative polarity, these agents, without knowing it, by thinking they're doing good. And so that's not their karma. They're not carrying the karma from that. I just want to clarify. It's these people who are using and manipulating them who are carrying the karma from that. Because these people, if their intention is of the highest, are not going to carry that. Okay? They're not going to carry the negativity. In the end, so what was the last sentence? This is about trust and faith in something greater than yourself. This is about connecting, discerning, accessing the knowing and believing that the time is now. This world is changing. The prophecies set forth in Revelation and other prophetic books or religious texts is coming to fruition, and the meek shall inherit the earth. I do not feel fear. I have absolute faith and trust in the divine, God, the creator of all things. Right now, this life is not mine to live. I will always do as I am guided. Fear is not part of this path. And so what I've noticed this whole week, information that keeps coming to me, is this entitlement. The themes, the visions that I've been having, all about entitlement. So Braveheart kept coming into my field through several friends, but then also in different forms. If you pay attention to the world around you, there's always signposts to put you on a path. So Braveheart was one of the things. If we've been paying attention to the last year with COVID, the Black Lives Matter movement, and then I was talking about the Native Americans and Manifest Destiny. So in Braveheart, what did they call it? I wrote it down. So also acknowledging this is like a docudrama, so it's not based on history. It happened in 1200. I don't think there's any real written history on it. I did read about the Scottish fight for independence. It did not align very closely with the movie, but that's not the message that's coming in here. The message is entitlement. And one of the things they talk about is prima nocte, or something like that. And what does it say? And in the movie it says, when any common girl inhabiting their lands is married, our nobles shall have sexual rights to her on the night of her wedding. So that's not very noble, right? I wouldn't call that very noble. But that was a sense of entitlement being conveyed in the movie that the English had over the Scottish. That they were entitled to sleep with the new wife of a Scottish man. The Black Lives movement, there was a woman who would say that people have a right to go into stores and steal, and they called it reparations. No, that is not okay. You are not entitled to anything. Just because somebody wronged you doesn't mean you can go wrong them, right? So an eye for an eye does not mean if you murder my child, I can murder your child, because you're going to murder an innocent child for the actions of another. What that means is if you murder someone, you will have something negative come back onto you. That's what an eye for an eye is representative of. One of the other points I wanted to make was whatever is written about the Scottish fight for independence, who knows what it is? Because history has rewritten itself over and over and over again. That has been proven. The whole Native American thing that I brought up about the blankets, they infected the Native Americans with smallpox. Well, I was taught that as fact. So somebody decided along the way that they're going to change that part of history. So what happened during the Scottish fight for independence? Who knows? We know something happened. So when I talk about this one part of the movie, it's not about historical accuracy. It's about an expression of entitlement. That's what the message was for me. This society is so entitled to everything. You are not. We are not entitled to everything. The Westerners coming to the United States, manifest destiny, that entitlement. We were not entitled. Well, my family's from Puerto Rico. I don't know if they'd be part of that, if they could be considered part of that, but I'll take responsibility for it, being raised in the United States. We were not entitled to take anything from anybody. And this has become a huge issue in the world. And as we evolve and as we transcend and we move off-world, and we're already off-world, some people know that, not everybody. Some people still think that we are just this alone in the universe. But we cannot take that sense of entitlement out into the universe. We will not be allowed to take that sense of entitlement out into the universe. And that's just how it's going to be. There are already energies, people from this world, this negative polarity that's gone out. They call it it's not the secret space program. It's there's the military industrial complex, and what was the corporations? I can't remember what they call the corporations, but the corporations that have gone out, they're really, it's all about money, right? Greed. They will do anything for money and power. And so they've made these deals with the devil, and they have moved that negative polarity, their negative energy, out into the universe, out into the galaxy and into the universe. And that creates anxiety for other people on other worlds. And it creates fear in those people, because our ability to create on this world is beyond what any other world can do, can accomplish. When we create from love, we can create the most beautiful things. But if we create from that negative, it can be very dark. And right now, these corporations have come out off-world from a very dark place. Even some of the military could be considered that. The military industrial complex can be considered part of that darkness, because their actions come from fear. They don't come from a place of love. They don't come from a place of compassion. When I was a kid and I'm protecting my brothers, that was all from love, because I love them so much. I didn't want them to get hurt. So I would step in front of whatever was coming at them to protect them. That is what I'm talking about. You can fight for goodness and kindness from a place of love to protect those who can't protect themselves. But if you're fighting for greed and for money and for land, for entitlement, that does not come from a place of goodness. And so that is where we're at right now. I might be getting a little bit ahead of myself, but I'm just going to say this. As we shift, as this transition happens, the military is a very important component in that, because even though they're working out in this secret space program with these corporations, because the corporations are the ones who build the ships, the military contracts with these corporations. So they have this perverse symbiotic relationship. And so as this military complex sees this shift in energy happening, this shift in power happening, because that negative polarity is losing. It's losing its power. It's losing its position, because Mother Earth is moving to the light. Mother Earth is moving to balance. And as that happens, now this military component is starting to try to find its footing and where it's going to be. So as this shift happens and the people at the top move off the top, somebody else is going to move to the top, right? So we have this military component, these people who have not been able to get up to the top because of this, the corporations, they're kind of vying for their position to be in control. And they're like, even if it's just for a little while, we're going to be in control. There's this need, this hierarchy that's been created on this world, and this need that people have to be at the top, to be calling the shots for everybody. It's perverse. It's demented in a way, because it's just about being on top. It's not about the greater good. It's not about helping make this world a better place. It's just about, I want to be the one on top making the decisions. That's ridiculous. Because who wants that role? Who truly wants that responsibility to be the one who has to make the decisions for everybody? Nobody in their right mind asks for that position. Nobody in their right mind vies for that position. That is, what do they say? What's the saying? Greatness is not achieved, it's thrust upon people. Something like that. I can't remember. If I find the quote, I'll put it in the description. But nobody looks for that. Nobody asks for that. It's to do that well. It's so much work. And you will never, the chances of being the person you want to be and helping everybody and achieving every goal, and at least at this point in our evolution, is slim. And with every success, you'll find a failure, because anybody trying to help everybody and does not successfully help everybody will find a failure in that inability to help everybody. So it's a catch-22. I don't know. So anyway, what I'm watching this cosmic disclosure. I'm watching the truth, misinformation, disinformation being put out. I'm watching fear being instilled in people. I'm watching them talk about this false flag event that's happening. And what I know is, if you truly have faith and trust in God, the divine creator, the creator of all things, this is all fodder. It means nothing. You are untouchable. I am untouchable. There is nothing that I fear. I have already made my peace with the creator of all things. I have already said, whatever you need, I will do. I have whatever sacrifices need to be made, I will make them. I had so much trauma in my childhood, and when I started this spiritual awakening in 2016, a lot of tears, a lot of meditating, a lot of epiphanies. But in the end, what I realized is, what I told God, what I told the creator of all things, divinity, when I understood why I had to go through all that trauma, because without it, I would not be the person I am right now. I wouldn't be the person I am today. Without reconciling my past with my present, I could not be here right now. And I said, if I have to come back in another lifetime, and if I have to come back and experience those traumas once again, or similar traumas as before, I just want the same support I had in this lifetime. Because every time I felt like I was about ready to go under, fall, not make it, something came in that helped me. A life raft came in to help me. But I had to see and identify that life raft. And I was able to identify that life raft and use it to help lift me up, so that I didn't completely nosedive and just bury myself. But trust me, there were times where I was very close to that. I said, if you give me those same supports as I had before and give me the opportunity, I will make it. I can do it again. So I said that. I made that peace with the creator of all things. And after being able to make that peace and start walking my path and seeing what possible directions this path might take me on, I also said, okay, what do you need? You know, if I'm meant to die of COVID, I'll die of COVID. If I'm meant to, drown, which is some messed up stuff that used to happen. My oldest brother used to put me and my younger brother in a sleeping bag, and he closed it. We were like 4, 5 years old, and he would say, "You're gonna suffocate, you're gonna run out of air," and we'd be in there screaming because we're little. We don't know we're not gonna suffocate. That the cotton sleeping bag, air gets through. We don't know, right? So I have this fear of asphyxiation for a long time. But after I made those profound connections with divinity, God, my guides, like, I know where I'm going after this lifetime. I know once I pass, and this physical body no longer is living, can no longer sustain itself, can no longer contain the soul that it's carrying, that when I pass, I know where I'm going. I'm not afraid. So I don't have fear of death anymore. I don't have a fear of the many ways that people can die. And so I just, I accept whatever comes before me. I accept whatever God puts before me. Whatever I'm supposed to do, I will do without fear. Period. No fear. So this is still the 24th. We raise people with this ideology of entitlement, create categories for them to be associated with, separate them, then create laws to enforce or reinforce that separation under the guise of equality. We are creating so many categories of race, of sexual identification, of socioeconomic, of academic, education. We are like creating a very complex caste system. And then we are creating laws. Oh, we want you to make sure that all gender fluid people or people of all genders are respected. So this law says that you have to refer to these people in this way, and you have to refer to this people, and if you don't, you're a bad person. I think there's a school that says if you identify as a gender, I can't remember, I have to find the article. If I can find the article, I'll post it in the description. If you identify as a gender that is undesirable, I can't remember, I think it's in Michigan, I could be wrong, but I'm going to see if I can find that and put it in the description. So it is the parents who are responsible for raising their children to value respect, kindness, tolerance, love, understand boundaries, honor individuals, honoring the individuals and the value they bring to our communities, our societies, whatever that thing is, i.e. law enforcement, janitorial work, research, teaching, etc. So we as parents, we raise our kids to have the value, to love, show respect and kindness to the world around us, to the people around us. It is our job to create boundaries, to let them understand that if you do this, you are crossing a boundary, and that's not okay. You need to respect the person, who they are, and how they choose to live their life, regardless of how they choose to live their life. Even if it's not how you choose to live your life, you need to honor that person, and that person needs to honor you. It goes back and forth. Reciprocity. It goes back and forth. That's our job as parents. That's what we do. And you honor that person, whether that person's in law enforcement, whether they clean the toilets, whether they're a research scientist, or whether they teach your kids. Whatever that role that person has, you honor them for the role that they have taken on and what they provide our society as a whole. We don't do that anymore. We're not doing that. We have someone saying, oh, all law enforcement are bad because one person did something wrong or questionable, or we're not even sure what they did, but we're judging them based on our perception of what we think they did, which cannot be any more wrong. You cannot judge someone based on the color of their skin. You cannot judge someone based on the uniform that they wear, period. No, you can't do that. And whoever told you that you can, and who's ever telling you that you can, is working an agenda. They are absolutely working an agenda. And I see it with absolute clarity, and it frustrates me to no end. And this is one of the concerns I have before I started making this video, is the frustration I'm feeling for what's going on in this world that is so wrong. Our families have been systematically destroyed. Children are being raised in a child care facility by whatever paradigm that facility works from, not by parents. So they're being raised by whatever rules and structure that the child care facility has enacted. But Then how trained are their childcare providers? Who are their childcare providers? Do they have kids? Do they not have kids? What is their experience with kids? How good are they at it? Not everybody's created equal. There are good and bad in every profession. I used to teach. There are really insanely good teachers. There are really crappy teachers. They're not all the same, and that's the same in childcare. So let's see. Children are being raised in a childcare facility by whatever paradigm that facility works from, not by parents. They are born into a 4-to-1 ratio, then moved to a 6-to-1 ratio, 7-to-1 ratio, 20-to-1 ratio, 30-to-1 ratio. So when you go into childcare, I think the ratio is 4-to-1. So if you're in a childcare facility, your infant child is in a 4-to-1 ratio. There's one childcare provider for 4 infants. Then as they get older, they go to a 6-to-1 ratio. And then I think a 7-to-1 ratio, depending on the age. Then they go to kindergarten, they're in a 20-to-1 ratio. Then they go a little bit older, second or third grade, they're in a 30-to-1 ratio, right? Then you go to college, you can be in a lecture hall where you're a 300-to-1 ratio. You don't even get to talk to the professor, you're talking to graduate students. So, and part-time parenting is insufficient. So your child is with the child care provider from, let's say, 8 to 5, Monday to Friday. And then so you're with your kid from 6 to 7 because they get ready for bed at 7:30 and they're in bed by 8, right? Monday to Friday. And then you maybe have weekends. That, you can't raise your child part-time. And this is something I feel so strong about. You might perceive this as judgment, but this is a choice. Randy's my ex-husband, made financial sacrifices so I could be home full-time with our kids. Our society places value on driving the proper car, living in the proper neighborhood, carrying the proper designer bag, over the well-being of the child. If it is more important for you to live in a certain neighborhood or drive a certain car than it is to live in a city or town that is affordable and will allow you to be home with your child or children, then so be it. What we are witnessing right now are the consequences of those choices, the consequences of buying into the paradigm, belief system, ideology that has been fed to this society for decades. It has come to an end. Tribulation represents the karmic consequences for these choices. This world is changing. Mother Earth is moving into balance. Nothing will change it. Nothing will stop it. So, as we put our children on hold, where the society has moved into is a product of that. The systematic destruction of our families, of our homes, what's going on in our home. Children don't have someone at home to talk to or to help them, and it's sad. I don't want to get any further into it, but the world is changing and it's not going to keep going in this direction. All this stuff that's happening, from COVID to whatever's happening in outer space, all that stuff is karmic, and it's all coming back on us right now because it all has to be dealt with so that we can transcend and move on. The agents of darkness are fading, for darkness cannot exist in the light. Truth entwined in misinformation and disinformation can make things convoluted and confusing. This makes connecting with the divine, asking for guidance, and trusting in that guidance paramount in your ability to discern. So all this connecting, this spiritual awakening is necessary for us to be able to discern truth, fact, from the lies and the manipulation. And that is the onus is on you to do that. You have to find your way. And I can't do that for you. Nobody can do that for you. That is upon you. That was my 2016 was all that meditation I had to go through, the tears, the awakening, the awareness, the sadness, the mourning that I had to go through for my past, the present, where we were going. Everybody has to go through that. Everybody has to go through the mourning of their past, what they've been through, where they're at now, and where they want to be. You have to. We all have to release that. Whatever our past is, whatever we're carrying from our past, because we can't carry it into the future. We're being asked to release all the paradigms that we've been raised in. The next 1,000 to 2,000 years is going to be about releasing the paradigms of this world, because we are going to be beautiful creators in this universe. That's what our destiny is. That's what the rest of this galaxy and the rest of the universe, all the surrounding areas moving out in that ripple effect are waiting for, is how this world is going to affect the rest of the universe, because it's not going to be from a negative place. It's not. That's not the choice that has been made. And what keeps coming to me, which is something I've never written down, but I always think about that positive and negative polarity and how we're going to reconcile that. How do we reconcile the positive and the negative? And how does divinity kind of close the loop? How does it bring that all full circle? How does this universe that started as one whole, that separated into this duality, how does it reconnect into the whole? And that starts here on earth. That message has come to me. It starts here on earth. It starts from this tribulation, this separation of the positive and the negative. The positive is going to remain, and this is the heart center of the universe. This is what's going to drive that change away from the negative polarity, helping all these other worlds to unify with divinity, unify from the heart center. That is very profound. That's a very profound message that's been coming to me, but I don't really talk about. But I feel like right now, because it came really strong in, that I should say that. The fear being instilled through words or topics like AI, China, radical left are more tools of manipulation. True faith and trust in God, the creator of all things, divinity, releases you from fear and moves you into transcendence. I fear nothing. So, people talk about AIs, what AIs can do. People talk about what China's doing, and the radical left, what they're doing. And whatever China's doing, what I know is I've met a lot of really good Chinese people, good people. And if you identify all Asians with whatever is going on in China, then you're misguided. If you judge all liberals based on what was going on in the current administration, then you are missing the point. There are good people and bad people in all areas. You have to be able to discern the goodness from the darkness. And in order to do that, you have to release the fear, because this negative polarity has become very proficient at controlling and manipulating through fear, through insecurity. Very, very good. And so I'm just going to stop there. If whatever happens as far as AI, if there's an AI that comes in and is nasty, or if China, the country, does something that's nasty, or if some alien, beings from another world come in, that is all part of the karmic consequences of what this people on this world have done, being driven by this negative polarity. Those are karmic consequences. I'm not afraid of those karmic consequences. I'm part of this world. And I will ride out whatever the consequences are with everybody else. But what I know is that we are transcending, and there are some of us that will transcend and will be here after tribulation. I'm not afraid of it. I know what this is. I know what's happening, and I don't fear it. So I'm just going with it. I'm going with the flow. And I keep, when the messages come, tell me what I need to do, I just do it. That's it. I just do it. I don't question it. I just do it. And so I was, again, thinking of Braveheart, the movie. At this time, this is the 24th, yesterday. And I said, although this is a docudrama, it is a good example of the power of the human spirit. What the will of one person and the love that filled every fiber of his being can or could accomplish. And so again, it is a docudrama, I understand that, but it's about what it represents, right? What is this? What is being conveyed? What is this message here? It was never about this fight, as it appeared in the movie. Was never about the one man. It was about the whole of the land, of all the people in Scotland. And at the end of the, okay, spoiler alert if you haven't seen it. At the end of the movie, he's being asked to ask for mercy. And all his friends are present, and they're saying, mercy, please, mercy, because they're seeing what's happening to him. And instead of saying mercy, he cries out freedom. And if he abdicated, if he cried out mercy, he would have done so for the whole of Scotland. Then every sacrifice he made would have been for nothing. If he would have said, okay, I give up, then he would have given up for the whole of his country. He couldn't do that because he stood for something greater than the one, than himself. He was about all of his people. And he had faith and trust in that thing, in that commitment to his people, and maybe to God also. I don't know. Didn't get that in much detail. But I think that's a very strong message about what the human spirit can endure and will endure for love. Love is a powerful driving force, and it is way stronger than fear. It is so much stronger than fear. I can't even put into words how I felt when my daughter was put into my arms for the first time after she was born. Like she came out, they cleaned her up, wrapped her up, and put her in my arms. And the love I felt, I had never felt before. I never thought I could love anything as much as that. And that told me a lot about myself, and that told me a lot about the power of love. I think I've talked a lot because I kind of interjected a lot of stuff that I didn't think I was going to interject. But I'm just going to connect really quick and see if there are any messages. I know the Raptors have been coming in super strong all week. Very, very strong. And this is when I do this. I don't know if I've done that in a video or maybe in a thumbnail, but this is their symbol. When they come in, we always kind of greet each other with this, and they have been in quite a bit, and they're always present. So they're like letting me know they're right here. Just like the Native American elder is right here, I've got raptors right over here. And so let me just, again, clear center and balance my energy and see what comes. Okay, so this was very quick because I forgot one energy has been coming in, and this is an energy that's been coming in for a really long time, but I don't talk about it. And I don't know why I don't talk about this energy. They live in the ocean. This energy is beautiful, and I always get super emotional when I connect with them because they can seem kind of scary, I guess, maybe because of the way they look. They look kind of like mermaids, but they don't have flowing hair and they don't look like your traditional mermaids, but they have a lower body that's more like marine life, and then an upper body that's more humanoid. And they're beautiful, and every time I see them, I always tell them how beautiful they are because they're so, so beautiful. And they're not traditionally beautiful, like a model or anything like that. The energy of this being is so beautiful. And what they represent in the ocean is so beautiful. They're like the guardians of the ocean. And they are like the raptors. The raptors evolved from Earth, like we did. These beings, I don't feel like they were born on Earth. I feel like they came to Earth. But they've been here very, very, very long time, and so they have not like traveled back in time and come back. Like some beings on the inner Earth have traveled back in time to try to help maintain their timelines. These beings in the ocean did not do that. They came from wherever they came from, came to Earth, started life here on Earth, their own lives here on Earth, and then have evolved. So this is their true timeline, but they came here and they stayed here. And they are good. They are benevolent energies, but they will protect themselves. And they're just super beautiful. They're just so beautiful. Every time they come in, I always just burst into tears, and I'm like, you're so beautiful. I tell them they're so beautiful. I can't even put it into words. And they don't really talk a lot, even though they can talk telepathically. Whatever I hear is they want me to come into the ocean, and I've been trying to get scuba certified, but I haven't had time to do that or money to do that. But they want me to come into the ocean. And I just haven't been able to. But they're always welcoming me in to the water. And so there's two things. These beings have come in a lot, but I never talk about them. The raptors come in a lot because humans have come into their space, so they were using me as a tool or as an ally to convey messages. But they're all indigenous, well, they're all part of this timeline, and they're all connected to what's going on with transcendence here on Earth, as well as the beings in the center of the Earth. But they came in, I think, really strong because of this talk I heard on Cosmic Disclosure of this possible, it's going to be a false flag event. It's to instill fear. It's for the transition of power, because they're going to move out this corporate power structure, and then the military wants to come in. So, oh no, we need military support and protection, and so they want to come in as a power force to make decisions for the planet, because we need protection. I know exactly what's happening. I know what's happening. So what these energies are saying to me is, this is not just about the humans on the Earth. The humans on the top of the Earth want to make it about just them. What humans on the Earth need to understand is there are many life forms on this Earth that are not human. There are very highly intelligent sentient beings, like the raptors and the beings in the water, that are more evolved than us. Then dolphins, whales, all of these there are very intelligent life forms on the earth that we don't acknowledge as being intelligent because they don't communicate the same way as we do, but they are here and present. But these energies have come in to say it's not just about Earth, it's not just about humans, and that there are other protective forces that will help protect some of these other energies, but we are responsible for ourselves. So whatever's going to happen in the water, there's so much that these beings in the water can do to help the marine life in the water. And if they're called to do so, they will do that. But they're not going to pop out of the water and help us, because we've created the circumstances that we're in. Not the whales, not the dolphins, not the octopus, not the sea life, marine life. They haven't done it. They've just been living their lives in the ocean. We have created this negative karma. So we have to work our way out of it. And that's one of the strongest messages that they've sent, is as they instill fear into you that, you know, you're going to be like what was the movie with Will Smith? 4th of July. Well, it takes place on the 4th of, Independence Day. Where they come, they're going to destroy the world and take all our resources and leave. We may suffer consequences of some events happening, but there are other energies on this planet that are going to protect what's going on in the oceans, in the inner earth, and other areas that we are not privy to, that we can't get to, because they are innocent kind of bystanders, and they're not going to be collateral damage. So there is a lot going on that people are not aware of. It's very frustrating for me. It's very frustrating for me to watch this and see how they're instilling fear and manipulating people. But if you can find your way to center your energy, find trust in God, divinity, the source of all creation, find your purpose, why you're here, so that you can be without fear, that you don't feel like you have to have a shot, get a vaccination to be protected. If you can find your way out of those paradigms and move into this new paradigm of spirituality, of interconnectedness with everything, not only on this world, but in this solar system, in this galaxy, in this universe, if you can start moving in that direction, you're on a good path. Okay, give me another second. So as I close my eyes, I had to sit with this for a minute because I have the Native American elder right here, and he's kind of pacing back and forth, and he's kind of doing this, and he's going back and forth. He's like, I don't know how people are going to take this. He's like, I don't know. And I asked him, I said, well, what am I supposed to say? What am I supposed to do? How do you convey this information in a way? How do I do that? And so he didn't have an answer for me. He's like, I don't know. He's like, I don't know how, he just said, I don't know how they're going to take this. I don't know how they're going to take this. And so always I have to do as I'm guided. I always have to convey the messages. Maybe I could have done it with a little less frustration, but, you know, this is just how it came out. So he just looked at me and said, okay, let's go, wrap it up. So that's it. Thank you so much.